Silence is not secrecy. Silence is protection. And the moment you understand the difference, you stop bleeding energy into conversations that were never designed to help you. There are 6 things in your life you should keep completely private, and the 6th one is the reason most people never become who they were capable of becoming. I want you to think about the last time you shared something important before it was ready. Maybe it was a plan. Maybe it was a number. Maybe it was a feeling you hadn't finished feeling yet. And I want you to be honest with yourself about what happened afterward. Something changed, didn't it? Not in the world. In you. The energy that was pushing you forward suddenly went quiet. The excitement flattened. The urgency dissolved, and you probably blamed yourself. You told yourself you were lazy, or inconsistent, or that you had lost your motivation. But that isn't what happened. What happened is that you released the pressure, and pressure is what moves things. Here is the cost of ignoring this, and I want you to sit with it for a moment. If you keep living your life out loud, if you keep narrating every plan, every wound, every number, every disagreement, every hope, you will spend the next 10 years explaining yourself to people who are not going anywhere. You will become extremely well understood and extremely unfinished. You will be known for what you intended to do. And there is nothing more painful than being remembered for potential you announced but never built. 10 years from now, you will either be a person of quiet weight or a person of loud emptiness. That gap is decided by what you choose to keep. So let me give you the picture that runs through everything I'm about to tell you. And I want you to hold on to it until the very last word. Your life is a house that is still being built. Right now, somewhere inside you, there is scaffolding. There are open walls. There is wiring that isn't connected yet. There are rooms that exist only as chalk lines on a concrete floor. And a construction site is not a shameful place. Every beautiful building was once exactly this. But a construction site is a dangerous place to invite crowds into. Because when people walk through an unfinished house, they don't see what it will become. They see what's missing. They see the exposed pipes and they call it broken. They see the empty room and they call it a failure. They see the chalk lines and they say, that's not a room. That's a floor. And here is the tragedy. You start seeing it through their eyes. You start believing the house is what it looks like today instead of what it will look like when it's finished. So you stop building. Not because you couldn't, because someone walked through your unfinished house and described it back to you. The wise builder does something simple. He puts up a fence, not because he's hiding, because he's working. So let me tell you what belongs behind that fence. Asterisk 1. Keep your plans private until they have already begun. Asterisk. There is a moment that feels almost impossible to resist. You get the idea. It's clean. It's bright, it feels like it was handed to you, and immediately, something in your chest wants to tell someone. You want to say it out loud so you can hear how it sounds. So you call a friend, or you post it, or you mention it at dinner, and you say, I'm going to start something. And in that moment, people look at you differently. They nod. They say, that's amazing. I always knew you had it in you. And you feel something warm move through your body. That warmth is the problem. I knew a man who spent 11 months telling people about a business he was going to start. He described the model. He explained the pricing. He designed the logo in his mind and described it in such detail that people could see it. And every single time he explained it, he received exactly what a finished business would have given him: admiration, identity, the feeling of being someone who was doing something. He collected the reward before he did the work. And when there is no gap between the reward and the effort stops making sense. 11 months later, he had nothing. Not because the idea was weak, because the hunger was fed by talking instead of building. Here is what most people don't understand. Your mind does not clearly distinguish between having done something and having been praised for the intention to do it. The recognition lands the same way. It fills the same space. So every time you describe your unbuilt future to an audience, you are spending a small amount of the fuel that was meant to build it. Announce it enough times, and the tank is empty before the engine ever starts. And there is a second cost, quieter but heavier. When you announce a plan, you invite opinions on something that has no defenses yet. A new idea is like a newborn thing, it has no skin. Someone says, that's already been done. Someone says, do you really have time for that? Someone asks a practical question you cannot answer yet, and you walk away feeling foolish for wanting something. They didn't mean harm. Most people who discourage you are not enemies. They are simply describing the limits of their own imagination, and you made the mistake of asking them to hold something that only fits in yours. So what do you actually do? Move the announcement behind the action. Make this your rule: nothing gets spoken until something gets started. Not finished, started. If you want to write a book, don't tell anyone until you have written 5 pages. If you want to open a business, don't tell anyone until you have made one real transaction, however small. If you want to change your body, don't tell anyone until you have completed 30 days. Let the evidence arrive before the announcement does. And notice what this changes. When you speak after starting, you are no longer asking for belief. You are reporting a fact. Nobody argues with a fact. Nobody offers cautious opinions about something already in motion. The conversation shifts from, do you think I could, to this is what I'm doing. And that shift changes not only how they treat you, but how you treat yourself. Plans whispered get built. Plans announced get discussed. So starting today, take the one thing you have been describing to people and stop describing it. Go to the smallest visible version of it before the sun goes down. One page, one call, one rep, one saved rupee. Let the work speak first. Because there is something you should know about the people listening to your plans, and it has nothing to do with jealousy. It's something far more human than that, and it explains the second thing you should never reveal. Asterisk 2. Keep your income and your money private. Asterisk. I want you to imagine two friends. They meet in the same year, they work in similar fields, they live in the same neighborhood. For 3 years, their friendship is easy. They laugh, they help each other, they show up when things go wrong. Then one evening, over dinner, one of them mentions what he earns. He isn't bragging, he's being open. He believes honesty strengthens friendship. And nothing happens that night. Nothing happens that week. But 6 months later, the friendship has a texture it never had before. There's a small pause before certain sentences. There's a joke that lands slightly wrong. When one of them buys something, he explains why he bought it. When the other struggles, he mentions it less. Neither of them could tell you what changed. But something did. Here is what happened. A number entered the room, and a number is the one thing human beings cannot unknow. Once someone knows what you have, they can no longer see you without also seeing the number. It sits behind every conversation like a shadow neither person mentions. Most people fail at this because they confuse openness with intimacy. They think that keeping a number private is a form of dishonesty, as if a real friendship requires full financial disclosure. It doesn't. Intimacy is built on how you treat someone, not on how much you disclose to them. You can love someone deeply, help them endlessly, tell them your fears, and still never tell them your bank balance. Those are not in conflict. And understand the two directions this cuts. If you earn more than someone, the number creates a distance you did not intend. They begin to measure themselves against you in a silent competition you never entered. Their respect becomes complicated. And if you earn less, the number invites something worse, pity, or advice you didn't ask for, or a subtle recategorization in their mind about who you are and what you're capable of. Neither direction helps you. Neither direction helps them. There is also a practical cost that people discover too late. The moment your financial situation is known, requests begin to arrive that are shaped by that knowledge. Not always dishonest requests, often loving ones. But once your resources are public information, your generosity is no longer a gift you choose to give, it becomes an expectation you are measured against. And the day you say no, you are not simply declining. You are betraying something they already counted on. So here is what you do, and it is simpler than you think. Learn to give warm answers that carry no numbers. When someone asks what you make, you can smile and say, enough to keep going, and it's been a good year. When someone asks what you paid, you can say, I got a fair deal on it. When someone asks about your savings, you can say, I'm being careful, like everyone. You are not lying. You are simply declining to publish. There is a world of difference between deception and discretion, and most people have never been taught it. Practice this once this week. Someone will ask you something about money, they always do, and instead of the reflex to answer precisely, give a warm, vague, kind reply and move the conversation forward. Watch how easily it passes. Watch how nobody presses. Because most of these questions are not investigations. They are just conversation reaching for something to hold. Money spoken becomes comparison. Money kept becomes leverage. Guard the number and you guard the friendship. Guard the number and you guard your freedom to move without an audience calculating your every purchase. But money is only the visible ledger. There is a second ledger, one that nobody can see, and revealing it costs far more than any amount of currency. Asterisk 3. Keep your family matters and your home private. Asterisk. Every household has a room that the guests never see. Every marriage has a week it doesn't talk about. Every family has a conversation that happened once and was never repeated. This is not dysfunction. This is being human. The mistake is not having those rooms. The mistake is opening them to people who will never have to live in that house with you. I remember a woman who had an argument with her husband, a real one, the kind that leaves you shaking, and she did what felt natural. She called 3 people. She told each of them the worst version, because in that moment the worst version was the true version. She was heard. She was comforted. She felt lighter. 2 weeks later, she and her husband had repaired it. They talked, they apologized, they understood each other better than before. The problem was healed inside the house, but it was not healed outside it, because those 3 people never received the update. They only received the wound. And for years afterward, every time her husband walked into a room, there were people looking at him through a night he had already apologized for in grown past. Her family had forgiven him. Her friends never had the chance to. And slowly, she found herself defending her own marriage to people she had armed herself. That is the thing nobody warns you about. You reconcile privately, but the story you released keeps living publicly. You forgive at the speed of love. The world forgives at the speed of gossip, which is to say, it doesn't. Most people fail here because they are in pain and pain wants a witness. That instinct is not weakness, it's one of the most human things about us. But there is a difference between needing support and needing an audience. Support asks, "What do you need?" An audience asks, "Then what did he say?" One heals you, the other feeds on you and calls it caring. There's another reason this matters, and it's about your children if you have them, and your parents if they're still here. When you narrate your family's difficulties, you are also narrating theirs, and they never agreed to it. Your struggle is yours to share. Their weakest moment is not yours to distribute. A father who is described at his worst never gets to grow in the minds of the people who heard about it. You froze him in the version of him you were angriest at. So here is what you actually do. Choose one person. Not 3, not 5. 1. Someone older if possible. Someone who has weathered something similar. Someone who wants the marriage to survive more than they want the story. And when you go to them, use different words. Instead of "let me tell you what he did," try "I need help understanding how to handle something." The first invites judgment. The second invites wisdom. And notice that the second version often doesn't even require you to reveal the ugliest detail. You can ask for guidance on the shape of a problem without exposing every corner of it. And when the storm passes, close the door behind you. Do not perform the reconciliation for an audience. Just live it. What is spoken outside the home rarely returns to it healed. Protect the house you actually live in more than the image of it. And here is where it gets sharper, because there is something people share even more carelessly than family trouble. And it is the one thing that, once given away, can never be taken back. Asterisk 4. Keep your weaknesses and your past private from those who haven't earned them. Asterisk. There is a moment in a new friendship, or a new job, or a new relationship, where a door opens. The conversation gets warm. Someone shares something vulnerable, and something in you rises to meet it. And you tell them the thing. The failure. The addiction. The year you fell apart. The mistake that still makes your stomach drop. And afterward you feel unbelievably close to them, because vulnerability creates closeness faster than anything else on earth. Then, months later, in an argument, they use it. Not out of malice, necessarily. In the heat of a moment, when they wanted to win, they reached for the nearest heavy object, and you handed it to them yourself. I once knew a young man who told a colleague about a difficult period in his early 20s, a period he had climbed out of with enormous effort, a period he was, honestly, proud of surviving. 2 years later he was being considered for a role that would have changed his family's life. He didn't get it. He never found out exactly why. He only noticed that a certain sentence about him had started existing in rooms he wasn't in. The version of him that was true when he was 22 had outlived the man who had already stopped being him. Here is why most people fail at this. They believe that honesty and disclosure are the same thing. They are not. Honesty is refusing to state what is false. Disclosure is choosing what to state. You can be a completely honest person and still keep entire chapters closed. There is no moral requirement to hand your history to whoever is standing nearby being friendly. And understand this, the danger is rarely that people are cruel. The danger is that people are simple. They compress you. Human beings cannot hold the full complexity of another person's life, so they reduce you to a headline. And whatever the most dramatic detail is, that becomes the headline. Give someone one story about your worst year and 100 stories about your best decade, and I promise you which one their mind will file you under. So what do you do instead? Make people earn depth and layers. Think of your past as a house with floors. The ground floor is open to anyone, what you do, what you enjoy, what you think about things. The next floor is for people who have shown up repeatedly over time. The floor above that is for people who have seen you at a disadvantage and treated you with the same respect. And the top floor, the room with the hardest thing in it, that is for people who have been tested by years, not by an emotional evening. The test I would give you is this. Before you reveal something heavy, ask yourself one question. Has this person ever handled something small of mine carelessly? Did they repeat a minor thing you mentioned in passing? Did they tell you someone else's private matter? Because a person who brings you other people's secrets is announcing exactly what they will do with yours. That is not a suspicion. That is a demonstration. And here is the part that matters most. Keeping your past private is not the same as being ashamed of it. You can be completely at peace with your history and still decide it is not public property. Peace does not require an audience. In fact, the most healed people I have ever met were also the quietest about the wound. Not hiding, simply finish discussing it. What you survived belongs to you. What you reveal belongs to them. So today, do one thing. Think of the heaviest thing you have told someone in the last year, and ask yourself honestly whether that person had earned it or simply happened to be there when you were tired. You cannot take it back, but you can decide who receives the next one. Asterisk 5. Keep your good deeds and your generosity private. Asterisk. This one will feel counterintuitive, so stay with me. You help someone. You pay for something quietly. You make a phone call that changes a person's week. You send money to a family that needed it. And there is a small, almost invisible urge that follows, to let it be known. Not loudly, just enough. A mention, a hint, a story told in a way that happens to include what you did. And the moment you do, something exchanges hands. The good deed stops being a gift and becomes a transaction. You have converted it into currency and spent it on your own reputation. There was a man in a small community who paid the school fees of several children for years. Nobody knew. The families didn't even know exactly where the money came from. When he died, the number of people who came to his funeral shocked his own children. because they discovered a version of their father they had never been told about. He had spent 30 years being generous with no witnesses, and his children said afterward that this discovery changed how they chose to live for the rest of their lives, more than any lecture he ever gave them. Now imagine if he had mentioned it just once a year. Just a small remark. The money would have been the same. The children would have been fed the same. But something would have been different. And I think you know what. Here is why most people fail at this. They are not vain. They are hungry. They live in a world where almost nothing they do is seen, where effort disappears into an ordinary day, and the desire to have something acknowledged is one of the most understandable hungers there is. But feeding that hunger with your own good deeds is like eating your seed grain. It solves today and destroys the harvest. There is also something that happens inside you. Every unannounced good act builds a private conviction. I am the kind of person who does good things whether or not anyone knows. That is the deepest form of self-respect that exists, and it cannot be built any other way. You cannot receive it from applause. Applause proves that people approve of you. Only silence proves that you approve of yourself. And practically, the moment your generosity is known, it becomes complicated. The person you helped now carries a debt they did not agree to. They feel watched. They feel measured. Sometimes they even avoid you, because being permanently in someone's ledger is exhausting. The kindest thing you can give a person you help is the freedom to forget you helped them. So here is what you do this week. Do one good thing that nobody will ever be able to trace back to you. Not a big thing. Pay for someone's meal without being present when they find out. Leave something for someone anonymously. Do a favor and, when they ask who arranged it, say, someone who cares about you, and leave it there. Then go home and tell nobody. Not your partner, not your friend, nobody. And notice what happens inside your chest that night. There is a specific quiet that comes from a good act that has no witnesses. Most people go their entire lives without ever feeling it. Applause spends the deed. Silence keeps it. Give in the dark and you build something in the light that no one can take from you. Now, those are 5. And each of them is difficult in its own way. But they all share something. They are about protecting things you already have. The 6th is different. The 6th is not about protecting what you have. It's about protecting what you are becoming. And it is the one almost nobody gets right, because it doesn't look like a secret at all. It looks like humility. It looks like honesty. It looks like normal conversation.